All set?
I think we're all set.
I'll make sure to check in for ordinance.
Great, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Peter.
Are we,
You're good. Yeah.
I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is the regular meeting of the Scarborough Town Council Communications Committee. Today is Thursday, January 19th, 2023, and it is 3:04 p.m. Let the record show that in attendance today, we're all here, Nick McGee and Jean Marie Caterina. Item 3 is approval of the November 14, 2022 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I wasn't there, so I can't approve. I can't.
There either.
Okay.
So what do we do?
So my request then would be to either confirm with John Anderson that they reflect the meeting accurately. I was there and I do feel that they
Can
are
we
good.
do a motion and we abstain and we do majority?
I,
One out.
I'm fine with that. I don't know what the proper
Yeah,
protocol.
but I
is.
wasn't there.
I'm saying is we would abstain from the vote and she would vote one out. Pass it.
We aren't allowed to abstain as council.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that should be those rules.
it's a rule.
We're
I don't know if that's council.
So you're
Doesn't
gonna
matter.
table.
gonna table the minutes.
On what motion and pass it. I'll motion to table the minutes.
All those in favor? Okay, so we will, I mean, in theory, you guys, I don't want to give you homework to do, but you could watch the meeting and then compare the meeting minutes that Tracy recorded to
That
be
ain't
able to
happening.
vote on the meeting minutes
Fair
for next meeting. I don't know how to get the meeting minutes approved with a new committee if you are neither going to watch the meeting or vote.
Staff will also look into the proper protocol.
Okay.
We're gonna-
We're off to a great start.
Item number 4 is Counselor Corner articles. Before we jump right in, since Nick and Jean Marie were not on communications committee last year, and I'm the only remaining member, just to give you guys an idea of, Allison coordinates with the chair of communications to make sure that we have a Counselor Corner article in the newsletter on the 1st and 15th of every month. And then the chair has kind of taken on the responsibility of making sure that that article gets to the editor of the Scarborough Leader. It's not necessarily, we use the same deadline for ease of getting the submissions from the counselors. But I submitted my Counselor Corner article from the 15th like yesterday to Dina. So, that the Scarborough Leader submission I will take care of. And then in the past, we've just kind of, we've brainstormed topics that we think would be important or relevant for the community to know, and then kind of tagged the most relevant counselor to write those up. For the February 1st e-newsletter, John Anderson has requested that he have that slot. I think he wants to do an article about council goals.
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes perfect sense to me. So we'll slot him in for February 1st. So then for February 15th, looking ahead, I think probably something related to the GMO,
That's probably.
That would be.
right?
That would be me.
And so Nick, if I can,
So that would be 2:15 is the submission deadline of that.
That's when the newsletter goes out, so I just need it at least a day before that.
So let's tell me February.
Okay,
And then if you wanted to go to the Leader, it has to get in the Monday before publication.
right, and again, since the e-news is only every other
Right.
week, if we do Counselor Corner, if I do the submission on the off week, it doesn't necessarily have to
Have to
run the
run.
same week. that-
Right, but I'm just saying, so you know.
Yeah.
Not that you don't know. but-
Okay, so that takes care of February, e-news. If we don't meet again until if we are in agreement that this meeting right before ordinance is a good time for standing communications committee meeting also, and we'll just hold this at 3 and then run up into ordinance at 4.
Small request.
Absolutely.
Can we move this earlier by a half hour?
No,
Make this 2:30.
So the problem I run into is I am also appointed to the library board of trustees, which has their meeting on the Thursdays from 4:30 to 6:30.
So you're trying to bump comms and ordinance?
Correct. So ordinance would go
let
back.
me tell you why, I know, and the reason we did ordinance at 4 was because of public participation. There was a lot of pushback about, I can't make it, I gotta be out of work, and so 4 was kind of the earliest
Okay,
for ordinance, not that I'm trying to.
maybe there's another day of the
Yeah.
week that works for the three of us.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to keep these two committees, since it's the three of us,
Yep.
bunched
Depends.
together.
Yeah, it depends on my schedule.
Well, let's talk about it now. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
reason not to. Let's get this coordinated. So we have,
I'm looking at staff though, too, because staff also has
Yeah,
to
well,
be.
Throw your times, we'll see how
Okay.
those work with us.
um,
Or you could just not be in the library anymore. till
Thursdays
John.
don't work,
They,
just the
in
third.
order for them to
Thursday.
move their meeting, they need to coordinate with 13.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
I'm talking about you. Instead, of you not be the liaison, someone else be the liaison to the library.
Mhm.
Or we don't meet on the third Thursday, although it's kind of like the continuity factor for people,
Or
especially with the ordinance.
I'm always a half hour late to the meetings, which
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but I that's crazy. So they're the third Thursday of the month, huh? How did you end up as liaison?
our chair pointed me to the,
He didn't know
And then
I
we
the
all approved
schedule.
it. We didn't have a schedule yet.
there was a rumor that they did ask for me. I know.
Okay, so
Careful what you
if-
wish for, right?
so Does it? Is there a reason we're stuck on this third Thursday idea? I mean, if
No, I mean,
Thursdays
it's
work,
just.
I can do either.
This is just the, well, for you, I don't know, I'll speak for ordinance. Ordinance has just been on that cadence through
Right,
Dawn's schedule. When he was chair.
and my scheduling, it's been a while since it's been, and so the community's gotten used to it this time, but that doesn't mean you can't change.
Just an observation. I guess I don't know where all our other committees fell. I remember last year's schedule, but it probably would be helpful if we could have committees generally meet on off council weeks.
Yeah,
Because I think there are a lot of times when there are weeks where we had like finance committee on Tuesday, council on Wednesday, ordinance on Thursday, and that just makes, I mean, it's taxing on everyone. So the second and fourth weeks of the month for committee work would generally probably be easier for staff and probably break up some of that work and allow for reports would be more conducive to the council, I'm sure.
I can't do the fourth Thursday of the month because of Maine Municipal.
Okay.
So what about the second Thursday?
Second Thursday.
Here's available at this stage.
What date's that, the ninth?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold on. Yeah, I can do that.
The second
Let's
Thursday
make-
of the month.
Yeah, let's make our standing committee meeting and for communications, 3:00. Okay. Second Thursday.
Will there be a
Or
similar discussion around ordinance for scheduling?
Yeah. Oh, it's three of us.
Right. it's the same as we're-
is that correct? So communications at 3 and ordinance at 4.
Yeah.
The second Thursdays of the month.
So, Allison, is there a way to update the submission for the newsletter? Because I did say third Thursday,
Okay,
just change it to second Thursday, and then I'll
Yeah.
get in touch with Dina to have the leader
okay,
corrected.
perfect.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, so now back to setting up a few of these Counselor Corner articles. We have February 1st and February 15th all set. And now we will have a meeting on the 9th. And so I'm fine if those are the only two we have set for right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Discuss
you
the
don't
next
know what
ones
the
on the
topics
9th.
will be.
Yeah,
yeah.
we can discuss the next one on the 9th.
And just so you know, I've pinch hit quite a bit with columns, well, not quite a bit. I tend to get hauled in. Jean Marie, can you write something last minute?
Sure.
And I can do that.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Jean Marie. Okay, so then the next topic for discussion is the February Counselor Corner Live. And this, like, again, Chair Anderson had requested that he have that time to have a discussion of the GMO. And so with January kind of going by in a blink, we all kind of agreed there was no way we were going to get it in January. And so I had already had a conversation with him and let him know that it would be probably the first week of February.
Do we have a regular date that you do Council Corner Live?
We have shot for a Thursday,
Yeah.
and
6:30. I know,
Yeah.
Thursday's
Yeah.
busy day. Was it every other month
I think it was,
or every 3 months?
I think we did quarterly.
Yeah, that makes
I think we
sense.
did
You don't
every
wanna
3
overdo
months.
it.
Yeah, I think we did every 3 months, Thursday nights at 6.
Because you can always throw one in there if there's a hot topic that we think needs to get addressed right away, so.
And for historically, for Allison to put together some social media and to just kind of
Yeah.
make the proper announcements, it's
Yeah, like a
2
month out.
weeks.
Yeah, even, yeah, that's when
Okay.
I'll really start pushing it.
Do we get the same people showing up at those all the time, or do you get
No.
varied audiences?
No, I mean, the first 3 or 4, the topics were so targeted, we had very different.
Okay,
I mean, we had some frequent flyers.
Of
who come
course,
to
right.
all of our events.
Right.
But, you know, the people who came to the conservation and sustainability
Were different.
topic were completely different than the
Okay.
people who came to the traffic
Okay.
one.
that's good.
And, you know, we can't really measure it against the growth one that we
Right.
did, which was first, because that one had a very large crowd.
Right,
I suspect that the GMO one will also have a large following.
yeah,
I'm happy to act as facilitator. I suspect you and John will probably
There.
have the lion's share of
Sure.
things to say. And so I can talk it over with John and see formally whether he would prefer it be you and I that host versus him, but I'm also happy to pass that one over to you guys too.
And that's February.
If we're in agreement, I'm proposing the February 2nd.
And that's for GMO. I just don't know if it's gonna be or socialized.
Okay. The request I got from John may be outdated. It's entirely possible.
Because our next meeting on that,
but you don't have to do it the second, you can push it back.
Get a lot of emails from John.
so our next meeting for the GMO discussion with the Tiger team is February 1st.
Tiger, what is that tiger?
You're gonna have to ask John about that one. It must be something they use internally at his job.
I was gonna say, that sounds so corporate or
Yeah.
something.
So our next meeting on that is February 1st. And
Okay,
I don't know if
Oh, yeah,
full consensus on a product to ship out. I think that's the goal.
okay,
I just don't know if it would be achieved by that moment. And I think the plan is to socialize that GMO, whatever comes out of the Tiger team, with the full council.
council.
Right.
For
Yeah,
that. Okay,
what if you pushed it back to March, or is
that's
that too long?
fine. I'm trying to find John's request just to see how old it is. Because obviously things change and. You know, he and I had talked about. So what I can do is, I mean, I can touch base with John. Obviously you have a good sense that February 2nd is too soon, which is fine. And so then for this committee, we have 2 options. A, we could push it back to March. which in terms of thinking about scheduling, I think probably pushing it to March at this point makes sense because it will be pre-budget
Hmm.
crush, right? We're not gonna get a counselor corner in April or May. That's not gonna happen. We could do a roundtable or something around the budget toward the end of May or early June if we wanted to, but I think doing another topic in addition to the budget season, it's just so many meetings.
Well, and the other thing is, don't forget, you've got Nick gonna be doing something on February 15th, so that gives, you're gonna get your Tiger team, whatever.
Yep.
And then the 15th, you're gonna have Counselor Corner coming out to do the GMO, so then if you had the public thing after,
Makes sense.
end of February, beginning of March, I think timing wise, politically, whatever, that would make sense.
Yeah.
And it also gives so the idea is that whatever comes out of that Tiger team, we're not gonna kind of finalize a product to shop around until the council weighs in on
Right.
their thoughts on it.
Right,
So it will give us the time to
Right.
incorporate council thoughts
right.
before community consumption.
And even for your article on the 15th, you can always insert into it that this is not set in stone, this is still these are the next steps and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I think what we should do is we should pencil something in for March 2nd. And then I will put it on the agenda for February 9th to do a check-in and just see where we are. And if you have talked to John or I've connected with John and we have all said, this isn't happening, then we can shift again.
So are you still gonna do a council corner live for February?
No,
no, just do it in March. What time are
I don't have, unless you guys think,
Six.
Six,
Yeah.
unless you guys have something else that you feel like the community is dying to talk about
Right.
right now, we can try and get something in, but
Growth, GMO growth,
I think.
too much traffic,
I
growth.
think just the excitement of talking about the GMO is just gonna be,
School might be something. to keep an eye on.
absolutely, and that's another one, I think we'll learn more tonight.
But you know what? That's the schools.
It is, and we can have a discussion, as their communication needs change. I know they have a communication subcommittee, but I would be open, especially because I am the liaison to that committee, I would be open to having Counselor Corner Live topic be the school if that was appropriate. And
You know what's interesting? I got Dina to say she would give them a column like we've got, and they never picked up on it. Now, I know it's got nothing to do with you, but I'm just saying, it's like. Anyway,
they take advantage of the space. And I know that the building committee they have secured designated space. in the
with
theater.
Dina,
Mhm. So they have a separate communication plan too. And so I'm just putting it out there that I don't think that we should shy away from talking about the school as a council. And so if
except we have to be careful how we do it. Because it's not we pay for it. We have the ultimate say, but it's the school department. Under state law.
the council goal was to partner with the school department.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Okay, we may see things a little differently on that one,
So
and that's okay.
just so you know.
So moving on to item 6, 2023 committee goals and priorities. Before, I don't have the right notebook. I need to put just a second. Knowing Counselor Anderson and his highly organized way of carrying out meetings, before we all switched committees, he wrapped up our communications committee by kind of reviewing what we had done over the year and then laying out maybe what our 2023 goals or things that we could continue to work on would be. And so, this is I know what worked well for us, from last year in terms of maintaining this cadence with the e-news and then doing Counselor Corner Live. At some point in the future, I do want to talk about whatever meeting our council goal of doing some kind of full council initiative day, I think was what the goal is going to reflect, that everyone was willing to give a day to do something.
Dunk tank, right?
Duck tank, maybe,
Duck tank.
yeah. So whatever that looks like, this
I'm not around for Summerfest.
this
so-
committee will be
No way.
charged with planning whatever that looks like for the council.
Yeah.
Liam and Allison had given us some things to think about in terms of increasing council visibility. And I think that that's something that I still need to, or would like to take a look at other towns' municipal pages and just see what their council posts
nothing.
and what's up. But there's got to be a way to be engaging, and we have this beautiful website, and I would be willing to populate it with content or little videos or whatever. I basically confirmed with John Clucci last night that he would do his little physical videos,
Right.
whatever, if we wanted him to do something. And so, willingness of this committee to put that idea forward and
Paul
what that looks
Johnson.
like. We could,
He did all this video stuff.
I think it's a good idea because we do a lot in writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's face facts, trend is
Yeah, visual.
Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook. Which I just dated myself, nobody uses Facebook, us. But I think the idea of, how about introducing people to the town, a tour of the Public Works Building?
Yeah.
Meet the director, kind of just do one of these things like it's no your Scarborough town.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just make it kind of a fun thing.
Allison does good videos because I've been the star of a couple videos with her.
voting video,
Ah.
standing out in front of town hall
Yeah,
and
you did it really quick.
highlighting the absentee
Yeah.
ballot
Yeah,
box,
it's
like
the
that,
votes.
those little things.
Yeah,
Right.
counselor visibility. But I also think there's opportunity to kind of bridge the gap more of like what we post on social media and what's happening in council meetings, what's being talked about. Yeah, it's like bigger issues. And you would be the faces of the ones to kind of simplify that message more, explain the process. So then when it comes down to election time or sometime when people think they're hearing about it for the first time, and they might be if they weren't following along. So just an easy touch point.
And so we need to,
Make a goal around this.
yeah, I mean,
We'll do a video a month,
yeah,
Yeah, there you go. That's an easy.
Yeah.
start small.
yeah,
Baby steps.
2 minutes max.
Max, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the attention span, right?
Exactly. They gotta be fast. Boom, boom.
okay, possible topics.
And it could either be educational or it could just be an update on something that's happening or more promotional, like the come out and vote.
Right.
So I think that when we were talking about suggestions to, as Allison just said, to kind of bring some prominence or visibility to regular council agendas, which otherwise are pretty, unless someone is really, obviously we have some engaged citizens, but this idea of going and uploading or downloading the council packet and reviewing the agenda. I think that's where, I think in my experience here, the most frequent complaint or feedback we get is where did this conversation start? Why am I only hearing about it now? And I think that one of the things we've talked about internally, and perhaps this can work its way into a committee goal, is we really tried to bridge the gap between the committee work, because that's where a lot of these things start, right? Conservation Commission or sustainability is where the EV started, right? So it kind of bounced all around. But so I've been working on getting some more information out there. Obviously, it's kind of mostly in we do a quarter, we just had quarterly or biannually newsletter on committee work. But I think that one of the things we had talked about with the last committee was maybe doing a quick preview after the agenda is published that we could throw out on social media on Instagram, where Nick, you say, on the council and you pick out the things that you think are, not the whole agenda, you're not reciting it, but
Thought you should know. that.
Yeah, next meeting, we're talking about a change in harbor fees, or whatever two or three things, like tune into your council meeting on Wednesday, whatever. And just to different information, bringing some prominence, referring people back to the agenda.
Mhm.
But that's not, we're not publishing the agenda on Instagram, or Facebook.
Right.
And so I think that there's probably, maybe that could be a goal. The whole, the other charge of the committee is engagement. So I think Councilor Corner Live is kind of our main tool for engagement, to have a forum where people can
Yeah.
provide feedback, and there is kind of a two-way street, and outside of, public comment, and outside of emailing counselors or calling them directly, it's sort of the other way of that. So those are kind of things we've been thinking about. Another concept that we talked about was, I think I plotted both you, Councilor Seither, and Councilor Anderson. And Nick, you're still new, but I think Councilor Caterina does as well. I think that this idea of getting some background, or giving some justification or explanation for your vote, especially on contentious issues,
Yeah,
where there's some opportunity, because you cannot, sometimes you can do that in deliberations, but other times you really can't. And I think that we've heard this common theme from residents about, they're not, it's this whole idea around, you must not understand why I don't want it.
Mhm.
And the reality is that we do understand why you're opposed to it. But for these other reasons, I think it is important that I cast a vote. I
Right.
don't agree with, right? So I think there's probably an opportunity, and I think we kind of workshop some like catchy phrases for what these segments can be called. But those are some of the things that I think there's probably some additional opportunity to, and that kind of gets into inspiring some, building kind of confidence and trust in the council. If they don't always agree with decisions, they hear, I know why you don't, I know why you don't want a marijuana establishment
Right.
at the end of your residential neighborhood.
Right.
However, that is properly zoned, and right now, the way it stands is permitted. And
Right.
here's some other history. And so I think that there's probably, I don't know how that works its way into a goal. I certainly wouldn't want to tie this committee or any councilor to doing,
Right.
that becomes, whatever, 24, 25 segments before every meeting. Never mind special meetings and workshops, that's a lot, or debrief. But those are some of the other things, just to go and rest the council member or committee members on what we talked about last year.
I mean, I think we could bring it forward as a goal. If people wanted to nail down the frequency, that's more challenging, because some meetings, we have a, fairly light agenda, and everything is straightforward, and most of it was first readings, and then we're done for the evening. And
What if-
so it's totally meeting dependent.
right. Or topic.
Is
dependent.
drives the content creation. But, just as a communications committee, the goal could be to, check in with counselors after a meeting to see if they want to generate
Mhm.
some content,
Wait, sure. Yep. Great.
and just take
That makes
the
sense.
initiative
Yeah, that
on,
makes sense.
on
Right.
making that contact, and just saying, hey, Counselor Campbell, do you want to do like a 30-second video? Talking about that.
Guidelines will be important, right? Yeah, we don't want to like a 47-minute editorial, but let me really talk about what's going on, some parameters might be helpful from this committee, but
Right.
yeah, yeah, and maybe, again, I think the hope, if you can direct people to the council meetings and give them, even if it is a really light agenda, that's a
Yeah.
10-second video,
Yeah.
that says, just meets next Wednesday, January 18th. On the agenda are these items. We hope you tune in, or for more information, go to the website.
Yeah.
And that goes on Instagram and directs people to the website to get more information.
Mhm.
So I think that would be a helpful addition.
Yeah.
If someone's willing. I don't know how camera shy you are, Nick, or Jean, or Jean Marie.
On with the
Jean Marie will be the one. Jean Marie will be the go-to, right from her computer. She can just do, walking to her car, she can just read the
I mean,
agenda.
it's funny to think that any of us would be camera shy. We literally sit in
Yeah,
front of
always being
cameras and
recorded.
conduct our whole meeting. All of our committee meetings are there for everyone to see all the time. But so hopefully there won't be too much arm twisting, especially, I know, because he was on the committee, that Counselor Anderson is on board. And so if we need content creation, we know that he'd be willing to do it. And so, and like I said, John Clucci said that separate from this kind of meeting debrief, that he would be willing to do some videos.
Which will be important budget
Yeah.
season, because that's huge.
So just kind of trying to tap into the fact that, people do not click through our whole, like, let's be realistic and reach
It's
people the way
tapping a
that they,
different audience.
exactly, reach people the way that they are used to
Must be time to come to work.
getting their information.
So I'm just wanting to kind of narrow this down a little bit for focusing us. So if we have a goal of one video a month, I like the idea of trying to catch a counselor after a meeting. And especially when it comes to maybe a controversial issue and being able to line up one or two and be like, how do you think this went? Or why would you vote this way? And just let them kind of explain themselves a little further. Might be interesting. I've actually in the back of my head, I always thought counselor food fight would be awesome. We just put two people that have opposing views. Just let them go at it, because
I think that's what Counselor Corner Live was
it's supposed to
what,
be. But
Yeah.
Counselor Johnson had
Right.
envisioned.
people enjoy seeing a good debate. And
Yes,
not that we don't have good discussion and debate on when we're all up here, but it is moderated to some extent because of the setting we're in. Once you kind of just put two people at the table and say, hey, let's talk about marijuana, and it's go, and then watch what happens. It's entertainment. But it also gives you kind of a deeper understanding of where maybe somebody's coming from.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess if we're gonna do one video a month, like what do we want these videos to be? So that's where I just want to, in my mind, is it just the ones after? I always thought like, how about a how-to series? Like I have an idea for a good ordinance. How do I do this? And then maybe a instructional step, like first thing you do is call your counselor, ask them, because they might know that something's already on the books and you weren't aware of it,
Right.
or, but just to kind of step by step, like, how do I do this? I don't know.
Yeah.
Just spitballing.
I love it. I mean, I think that ideas like that have been tossed around in the past, and Jean Marie, how to cast your absentee ballot. You want to make voting feel accessible and comfortable for everybody, right? So we do a video where we say like,
This is what you do.
it's
Here's the
so
box.
easy, right?
Yeah.
Like you walk in and here's Tracy sitting at a table and you don't need to bring identification and, you give her your street address and she'll give you a ballot and, this is what the ballot, this is what you do. And then people will be like, oh, like my mom will be like, oh, I can.
So some educational videos, fundamental.
I needed to come into town hall. My mom will literally ask me like, which one do we need to go to? And I'm like, it's downstairs. It's good. Like the senior assistance program. I think that would have been a great one,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like just to,
Yeah.
and I think people accessed it and
did.
navigated their way just fine, but that would have been a great one to just kind of do.
How to get my beach pass.
Yes,
Right?
right?
What
Like
do you
just
need? Make sure you
simple.
have your registration.
Yes, yeah. How many people? have to
Film
go
somebody
back
going up.
Dog license. Dog license time is a big,
Just all these little municipal tasks that don't necessarily have to do with council business, but if we're the
They're
engagement
represented.
committee, then yeah. Okay,
I love that. I love for a counselor to start at the front of town hall. I need to go and register my dog and go right through the process. Tracy on video, she'll love that. Show us how easy it is,
it is.
especially around those, I think that just as again, kind of an example of getting your faces out there and building some awareness to things that need to be done in town. I think it's
This time of year, we could do a video with like, we could kick over somebody's mailbox and stand next to it, like, that plow got me again. What do I do? Like,
Yeah.
Actually,
Did you know that your mailbox can be replaced by?
Maybe.
That's just a right of-
Everybody to go get it.
Let's do the mailbox one this summer.
Initiate CPU.
Okay, so I'm hearing three different ideas kind of emerging here. One is an agenda preview. So where we do like a short, this is what's gonna be on the agenda. you know,
But
Upcoming
only,
meeting.
but are we doing it only for? Hot topic, thank you, I was trying to think of the word, I don't want to use the word controversial, because that sounds like a setup. But
I
the
mean-
hot topics, because there are some agendas, it's like,
Well, but I think it's to build some awareness to the regular business.
what's happening, right?
Right, and even if
Right.
it seems benign or uninteresting, the point is that this is.
yeah, yeah.
Because I think there are some issues that to 99% of the population are benign, but for the 1% where it's happening next to them.
Right.
Unless it's something that affects them, they don't pay attention, they don't care.
Right.
The only thing they care about is the tax bill. I mean, that's the reality.
Video on understanding your tax bill.
Well, that's a huge one.
Tom
Where
has
did my
stuff.
money go?
I think the video is more interesting if it's
Yeah.
being talked about as some particular item rather than just.
Right.
Yeah,
Did you-
and I
yeah.
don't want to do it every single time.
No,
it's a
right.
meeting and have people stop watching.
Cause they, yeah, they'll just
Yeah,
tune it right out.
Okay, so agenda preview would be one kind of video series.
Yeah.
Counselor post meeting comments, I don't.
explain your vote.
Yeah, explain your vote.
Finish one, that one is, it's, we've got something going on up here, right? And, you know, two people aren't agreeing, whatever, or some, or it's a 6-1 vote. So one of us from communication is gonna chase down the number one, the one vote and say, hey, April,
Ask.
you
them.
voted? No. That's my
And if
visual.
they are not interested in creating content, then that's totally fine.
I think, again, I think it'd be helpful to provide some parameters, you know, if we're gonna.
I
say,
know,
you know,
exactly.
we would like counselors for those, right, an opportunity to explain their
Well,
vote.
they
for
should
or
be
against,
explaining it when they're sitting there at the damn table.
but time doesn't always allow.
And sometimes I've already said one thing and then it's gone all the way back down the line and I feel like I could add something else, but the conversation is getting long and we need to call the vote, or sometimes the vote gets called.
Yeah, I've
And I
heard
might
this.
have something else I'd like to say.
That's right. That's a strategic use of parliamentary
I'm
procedure.
not faulting you for it, but we don't,
Call the
point being, we don't always get to fully say what everything we would like
So we
to
could
say.
say, you know, it's an option, it's sort of a ready-made option available to all the counselors with, you know, less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, it's really, it doesn't necessarily have to be the, you know, I think we kind of talked about like writing for the minority or writing for the majority, but I remember having a conversation with one resident where they said, again, it was around surprising growth, right? And they said, you know, why is the council allowing more growth to happen?
Right,
And they must not hear us.
right. They aren't
And-
listening.
No.
And I think it was, no, they do hear you, but for their ability to restrict or prohibit is limited. And so an opportunity for a counselor to say on camera, for those of you who feel like we're growing too fast, I hear you, and here's some education on it, or here's, and I just think that bridging those gaps, and that's what I sense there's a lot of, and that's where a lot of the frustration is. It's just this, the perception is, if you don't agree with me, you must not understand what I'm saying.
Exactly.
And that's not really the case.
That's right.
So I think that's why my suggestion is if this committee can really establish some of those resources or tools or mechanisms to bridge those gaps. And then it doesn't fall to all, just the three of you to do all the content, but you've done the work to say, you know, if you want to get out there, here's an option available to you, and 2 or 3 things, and it's sort of a ready-made branded segment that we can do that.
So I guess the follow-up to this is logistically, are we talking to these guys about setting up a small camera in the back corner? And then we're walking out of our council meeting where they're asking someone that's been in the audience, like, how did you feel that went? You know, and you get public opinion feedback instantly into the camera, and they're editing it later. Like, how, or are we just pulling out our phones and, you know, how is this gonna work?
Question.
That is a good question.
I,
Like, any of these want, you know, do they want extra credit or overtime or?
I guess I kind of envision-
Interns? I don't know.
I kind of envision day after, less heat of the.
I was
moment.
gonna say, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and with some reflection.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. I look at this like the office, where they did zoom in on my.
You work for the press.
Again, it's up to this committee to decide what they want to do there, but I
You
guess.
just have to edit it.
in
It
my-
doesn't have to be posted right away.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I would say at a minimum, it gets branded and edited and flipped in a certain way, but.
So-
Or something, call it the other side, or call it the other side.
Yeah, I get, that was my question. Who logistically is gonna pull all this together?
I think
I would do
Allison.
that, yeah. And as far as formatting, I could put some parameters around it. I would definitely say under 2 minutes, ideally 30 seconds, but it
Right.
depends on the topic that we're talking
And
about.
then
Right.
once you have a edited piece, are you emailing it to us? So we're all saying, okay, go for it?
That's another good question. I don't know. And also if you want to have two opposing opinions in the same video, or just one, like if multiple people want to give their response, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
Then you rehash your
Or, yeah.
council meeting.
Or you, well, or you see the edited video come through, like, oh man, I sound like an idiot. Please cut my section out. You know? Because, like you said, maybe you're in the heat of the moment.
Change your
and
mind.
You need to cool down a little.
And is it self-recorded or is it like me filming or something?
Right. Yeah, these are all good questions.
Yeah, I guess, in terms of what so looking at through the staff lens, it's kind of what is, I don't know how much interest there's gonna be. And I certainly don't think that every topic requires it, but
No,
the controversial issues, again, I don't think it's limited to even. I mean, sometimes I think it's actually the explanation of the majority vote, the actual action.
Yeah,
Which is where there's deficiency and you don't understand because you don't vote and you just pass something I don't agree with.
right.
yeah,
And so it's less about,
yeah, I think.
the
it's less
minority
about
opinion where
why
they
I
say,
voted no
yeah, I
and more
hear you.
about, yeah.
I also don't like it.
Yeah,
It's
I-
kind of like an opportunity for the majority to say, we hear your concerns that are in conflict with the position we took. So let me explain why we took the position or why I cast my vote in the affirmative for that. And so I don't have, beyond the idea, I don't have.
Or are we putting a lot of work into something that doesn't come up very often because it's very few people who actually.
Which is why I think it's good to give some thought to this as an opportunity.
Right. Right,
And if counselors want to employ it,
Right.
participate in it, great, we've
Yeah.
already done the work. And if they don't, they don't.
right.
But I think that it's just based on a reaction to some of the feedback I have heard. And I think that's one way to overcome some of the most critical feedback about not understanding and hearing.
The other thing is we need to let people know they can pick up the phone and freaking call us. And we aren't very good at that. I know, but we aren't very good about getting that across.
That could be an easy educational video too. It's like, here are the ways you can contact.
Yeah. Email me,
Email,
call me,
call,
leave
yeah.
a message.
Yeah. where it's
I
to
always
engage.
answer calls from constituents, even though my other counselors, but no. But
Yeah, that's right.
constituents calling, you know?
I mean, we could even go back to previous council corner articles we've done and turn them into
Yeah.
videos by just
Right,
saying out loud what
right.
is also written.
Mhm.
The way I've been picturing this is being not like a polished 3-minute video
Right.
with the logo. It's more of like this. I don't know. I feel like social media is kind of turning into like this quick form, like off the cuff, like you're just have your phone out and you're talking to the camera type of thing. And I'd be curious to see what that type of response would be. Because it would be a little unexpected, like I don't know how many people would watch if it's like sitting up there at the big, so.
Yeah. Well, I
So I
used
don't think we
to,
need to put too
when
much.
I put things up on my Facebook page, which I haven't in a while, but I would do videos sitting in my car. Like,
Yeah.
for example, when the beaches were closed down with COVID and people were all wild about it. I sat at the beach one day and did a quick video, and this is
Yeah.
why we're doing it, and these are the rules and whatever. I got so much good feedback on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that right there, I think captures what we're trying to
right.
generate
Right.
is if we are gonna be talking about the school site right? And this is gonna be a topic that council discusses, and it's gonna generate, and obviously the school side is gonna handle their side of the communications. But if we as a council, if I as a counselor want to bring constituents along on why I support whatever
Right.
site gets
Mhm.
selected,
Right.
then I hold up my phone and I say, hi, everybody,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
Counselor Siler, like, I just wanted to take,
Make
30
sure you
seconds
make it,
and
no, it's your
say,
opinion, this
yeah,
is just my
yeah,
opinion.
exactly.
I'm not speaking
And
for the council.
send it to Allison and she can
Post it.
have a uniform way that
Yeah.
all this content gets posted and shared so that everyone is going through Allison, all channels.
No, that
lead
makes
to
sense.
Allison,
Yeah, I can add.
So we're not all rogue.
Like that. Yeah.
But I think, I agree, like, I don't want to burden staff with a bunch of editing and-
Right.
and,
No.
you know, like, the videos need to be short, think about what you want to say. Camera comes on, make your point,
Yeah.
close the video, send it to Allison. Like that's the kind of content level. I don't think anybody's expecting like, Paramount,
All right.
That's the actual performance.
Okay, so I can socialize this with the rest of council too,
Yeah.
in advance of our next meeting and just give them a heads up that this is kind of the direction that we were hoping to go. And frankly, if nobody wants to make any post-meeting content,
Mhm.
right, that idea just falls flat.
Yeah.
We as a committee can still do the how-to videos and we can still
Yeah.
do the intro to the agenda videos
Mhm.
and satisfy our humble goal of one video a month to start.
And no harm pulling the plug on this if we find it.
Right, exactly,
Networking in
exactly.
6 months,
Yeah.
Yeah.
got zero visibility, let's.
Yeah,
not
then
credit
let's
us a
not-
wall.
exactly. But I do think that it would be fun to try something new.
Yeah.
Do any interest in setting a goal for Councilor Corner live segments for the year? Do you want to try to do 4?
Yeah, I mean, that would be my
Quarterly.
quarterly,
Yeah.
would be my goal.
Yeah.
Is that,
Someone's.
we have consensus on that
We do.
quarterly? Okay.
Back to the videos really. quick.
Yeah, no problem, sorry. Where, this is still.
This is communications.
Not yet, or.
Ordinance.
Four.
Coming right up, no worries, no worries. And you're welcome to stay.
Yeah, back to the videos. Are you going to just think of them and come up with them as you go, or do you want to have it as part of the agenda like we do for council corner articles?
I think
To pick one that we're gonna do that month.
I think for a how-to video, we should definitely maybe put that on the agenda and then just brainstorm some topics and
Yeah.
then set a calendar and just see if we can lay out, 3 or 4 of those and get those lined up. As far as the intro to the agenda, I think that kind of happens.
Not to throw him under the bus since he's not here to defend himself, but the agenda is effectively set by the chair.
Exactly.
And, obviously Chairman Anderson seems endless energy.
Endless.
Endless.
I know what it is.
So I guess I might,
Last night he was tired, and I was like, no, you're not.
I might run this concept by him because he's
Yeah.
also one that's very, obviously he's tech savvy, he's very quick to, I think he could probably get in the swing of things.
Yeah.
And he could take, and again, engagement and participation has been so important to him through his time on council. He could do this on a Friday afternoon or do it on a Monday morning and
Yeah,
say,
that's true.
and he could flag it.
Because
Because he's the
Paul
one that's
did that.
responsible for it.
Paul did that.
Paul used to do very quick videos like that. too.
Yeah, because he did that in teaching. He was
Yeah.
used to doing
Oh, yeah.
that sort of thing with his teaching stuff, so.
So I might hunt, rather make it a sort of revolving door, see if he has interest in doing that.
Sure.
And again, talk about 30-second clip if that.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy to talk to him about that. I think that's a great idea. Okay, so I will socialize these with council a little bit, refine them and then,
Okay.
and have something that we can approve for our next meeting. But, obviously having Counselor Corner articles in the e-news, that's gonna be a continuing goal, quarterly Counselor Corner Live, and then something around a video production or video outreach.
I like it.
And then our goal that is gonna be our responsibility, our council goal is gonna be this community outreach day for the whole council. And so at some point, planning what that looks like, but
Is that the door knocking?
yeah,
Or
if,
the
I mean, door knocking, other people were thinking that it would be more productive to have a picnic or an event tent or something, and so we can decide, as a council, what we want that to be. But that will also be, one of our goals for the year is to have some kind of formal, full council event. Anything else for goals? Okay. Item 7 is public comment. Anybody wishing to make public comment at the communications committee meeting?
Anyone online?
No,
We have nobody online. Future agenda items, like I said, I will bring polished goals to the next meeting. And then kind of our standing agenda is going to be to set the Counselor Corner e-news articles and then discuss topic for upcoming Counselor Corner Live. And then beyond that, any other communications initiatives or whatever that come out of council meetings, I can add to our agenda too.
Like it.
Is that good?
Sounds good.
All right, do I have